Have you ever wondered why teams that are just packed with brilliant, experienced people can sometimes fail and fail catastrophically? It's a question that keeps people up at night in operating rooms and boardrooms, you name it. To really get to the bottom of this, we need to look at a situation where everything was on the line and all the individual expertise in the world just wasn't enough.
So let me tell you about Elaine Bromley. Back in 2005, she went into the hospital for what was supposed to be a totally routine sinus surgery. And the team she had? It was an all-star cast. An anesthetist with 16 years of experience, a surgeon with over 30, and a whole team of veteran nurses. On paper, you couldn't be in safer hands.
But things went wrong, and they went wrong fast. Right after anesthesia began, her airway just collapsed, and within only 2 minutes, she was visibly blue. By the 4-minute mark, her oxygen levels had absolutely plummeted to a critical 40%. The team was suddenly in a textbook emergency, what's known as a can't intubate, can't ventilate crisis.
Now, what happened next is the truly tragic part. For more than 20 agonizing minutes, the 3 senior doctors got fixated on one single thing, trying to intubate her, over and over again, ignoring every other option. The nurses, they saw what was happening. They knew a different approach was needed. They even brought a tracheostomy kit into the room and called intensive care for backup, but they were dismissed. It was a complete and total breakdown of leadership, communication, everything.
Elaine Bromley never woke up. And that devastating outcome forces us to ask this incredibly important question, one that goes way beyond that operating room. How could a group of top-tier experts fail so completely? And this isn't just some medical mystery. It's a puzzle that some of the world's biggest companies have literally spent millions of dollars trying to solve.
And that brings us to maybe the most exhaustive investigation ever done on this topic, and it comes from a company that loves data more than anything else, Google. Their secret mission was codenamed Project Aristotle. You see, Google's top brass started with a pretty simple theory. If you want to build the perfect team, you just have to assemble the perfect people, right? It's like a recipe. So for years, their researchers went to work, collecting just massive amounts of data on 180 different teams. They looked at everything you can imagine, personality types, skills, backgrounds, even how often people ate lunch together. But after all that time, after analyzing all that data, they found absolutely nothing. No patterns, no magic formula. The mix of individuals, the who on the team, it made no difference at all. You could have a team of superstars that completely bombed and a team of seemingly average people that just knocked it out of the park. The old way of thinking was just wrong.
So it turns out it wasn't about who was on the team, but how the team worked together. I think this slide shows it perfectly. On the left, you got a team where everyone's energy is going in different directions. It's just chaos. But on the right, that energy is harmonized, it's aligned. The whole becomes way more than the sum of its parts. And the researchers realized they had to start looking at the unwritten rules, the group norms that governed how people actually interacted.
And this shift in focus, well, it led them to their big breakthrough. They found one factor that, above everything else, was the key predictor of a team's success. It wasn't about how smart individuals were. It was about what unlocked a team's collective intelligence. The answer was psychological safety. Now, this concept comes from Harvard professor Amy Edmondson, and it's basically a climate of interpersonal trust and mutual respect. In plain English, it's that feeling that you can speak up, that you can ask that so-called stupid question, admit you made a mistake, or pitch a totally wild idea without getting shot down or, humiliated.
And the cool thing is, Google's researchers found this wasn't just some vague, fuzzy feeling. It actually showed up in 2 very specific behaviors. First, on the best teams, everybody talked in roughly the same amount. No single person or small group dominated the entire conversation. And second, the team members had what they called high social sensitivity. They were just really good at reading the room, picking up on nonverbal cues like tone of voice or facial expressions to get a real sense of how others were feeling.
So what does this actually look like day to day? I think this quote from a Google engineer says it all. It's about a leader who is direct and straightforward. See, it's not about being nice or soft. It's about creating an environment where people feel secure enough to be a little vulnerable, to take risks, and to really bring their whole selves to work. Okay, so we know psychological safety is the secret sauce. But how do you actually build it? How can teams create this kind of environment where they can really, truly think together, especially when the problems are complex and the stakes are high?
Well, a lot of it starts with just understanding the different ways we talk to each other. Teams have 2 basic modes of conversation: discussion, and dialogue. A discussion, that's kind of like a debate. We show up, we present our views, we defend them, and we try to find the best one to win the argument. But dialogue is something else entirely. The goal here is to explore, to listen with the intent to understand, and to tap into what the source material calls a pool of shared meaning, an understanding that no single person could have come to on their own. The physicist David Bohm said that for true dialogue to happen, you need 3 things. First, and this is the hardest one, you have to suspend your assumptions. Instead of defending them, you just kind of hold them out in front of you and examine them. Second, you have to see everyone else as a colleague in a shared quest for clarity, not as an opponent. And finally, especially when a team is just learning how to do this, it really helps to have a facilitator who can hold that space and keep the conversation from just turning back into a debate.
Now here's another really powerful tool for thinking together. It's called the map of doubt. The version on the screen is the original, but the idea is universal. It's basically a framework to help your team navigate uncertainty by charting your level of knowledge against your level of confidence or anxiety.
So let's walk through this map. In the bottom left, no saber plus ansiedad, that means you don't have knowledge and you're anxious. The risk there is total paralysis. You just freeze. Top left, saber plus ansiedad. You have the knowledge, but you're still anxious. That's where you get analysis paralysis. You just get stuck debating data forever. Now top right, saber plus confianza. You're knowledgeable and confident. This feels great, right? But it's where you can get tunnel vision or myopia. And then, the most dangerous place on the map, bottom right, no saber plus confianza. You have no idea what you're doing, but you are brimming with confidence. That, my friends, is pure hubris. Just knowing which box your team is in is the first step toward making that doubt work for you.
And all of this brings us to a really critical point. Building psychological safety and using these cool tools. It's not about making everyone agree or avoiding conflict. It's about building a culture that is strong enough to handle it. The real prize is productive conflict.
But the thing is, we are basically wired to avoid conflict. Just look at this number, it's staggering. In surveys, a full 85% of executives say they have issues at work that they are too afraid to bring up. That fear is what stops teams from thinking together, and it's the root of so many failures.
To really see the power of leaning into conflict, we have to talk about Dr. Alice Stewart. Back in the 1950s, she made this shocking discovery linking X-rays of pregnant mothers to childhood cancer. But her idea completely flew in the face of what everyone believed, and it took 25 years for the medical world to finally listen. So how did she stay so certain she was right all that time?
Well, she had what she called a thinking partner, a statistician named George Neal. He was her total opposite, and he saw his job as one thing and one thing only, to actively try and prove her wrong. He would challenge her ideas, poke holes in her arguments. He created conflict on purpose. And it was because he could never prove her wrong that she had the ultimate confidence to know that she was right. It was a perfect model of constructive conflict.
And this brings us right to the big takeaway. The quote here says it all. Doubts are for executives what nerves are for elite athletes. If you know how to take advantage of them, they become a positive force to improve performance. Think about that. Doubt and disagreement. They aren't weaknesses you need to get rid of. They are forces you can harness. The very best teams use the friction from different points of view to get stronger and smarter.
So the final question isn't whether your team has conflict, because trust me, every team does. The real question is this: have you built a foundation of psychological safety that is strong enough to turn that conflict from something destructive into something creative? Because that is the difference between a team that crumbles under pressure and one that comes together to do something truly remarkable.